Alright, in this video, I am going to work through Objective 3, finding the relative maximums and minimums, and then determining the intervals of increasing and decreasing. So the goals when working through this objective is you should be able to plot the points of the maximum and minimums, and understand that these are what's called turning points, and then understand that intervals of increasing and decreasing are horizontal movements, so they're left to right, and it refers to the x-axis and the x values. Alright. Let's go through an example. So I already did A and B in a different video, so if you don't have that filled out on your page, please go back and watch that video. So I'm going to go through C and D, maximums and minimums, and then intervals of increasing and decreasing. So to take a little notes of this again, maximums, I'll just make it short. Max are mountaintops, or highest points, and minimums are the opposite. I say valleys or lowest points. Pretty straightforward. Lowest points. And then intervals of increasing/decreasing. Again, how I go through this process, I start on the left and go to the right. I read it like a book. And I think roller coaster. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, an example again, I'm going to start on part B, maximums and minimums. So if I was going to look at this graph on the right and determine its maximums, I would have to look at mountaintops. And I see mountaintop here and here. And there can be more than one maximum. In this case, there are two. So the first step in finding the maximum is plotting the points. And this is the maximum point. This is the maximum point. So the x value and the y value of this, I'll do the first one first, so for the left one first. So the x value there is, it looks like this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, so it's halfway between -2 and -3, so it's -2.5, and that's fine, that it's a decimal. And then the y value is 9. That is my first plotted point of the maximum. And you need to do this first step first because this is going to help me find the intervals of increasing and decreasing as well. So please plot the points first. Then over here, the x value looks to be right here, so positive 2.5 up to 9. So I've done my first step of finding the maximums. I've identified them on the picture and I've plotted the points for each maximum. So in this case, there are two maximums. It's -2.5, 9, and then positive 2.5, 9. Just like that. Minimums, in this case, I'll do this in green. I look for a valley or a low point. And again, we've talked about how down here they're low points, but it's not a valley. And I mentioned before, maximums and minimums are turning points. I'm going to talk more about that in the increasing, decreasing intervals section. But again, it turns right here, and there's a valley right there. So hopefully you can see that. There's a valley or a minimum point right there. So it's the same step. I plot the points. In this case, the x value is 0, and the y value is 0. So I only have one minimum. It's 0, 0. So I'm done finding the maximums and minimums. I first visually found them. You can circle them if you want. And then I plotted the points of that maximum and minimum. And so from there, I move into increasing/decreasing. This is why it's important to know what a turning point is. Because I'm going to highlight this in yellow, and I'm going to do increasing first. And I always start, actually I'll do it in a darker color. I always start left to right. We're reading a book left to right. I can draw a person and imagine he's in a roller coaster or she's in a roller coaster. So they start down here and it starts going up. So this is technically an interval of increasing because we're increasing in height. And they go up, 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 all the way to this maximum point, and then it's a turning point. It turns from going up to going down, right there. So my first interval of increasing is this entire segment, line segment. So we've talked about this before. This line goes all the way down, so it's going to start at negative infinity. It goes all the way down and all the way to the left. So I start my roller coaster at negative infinity. It goes up, 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 up. Again, we're reading left to right, horizontal movement, so I care about the x value here. The x value at this maximum point is negative 2.5. Negative 2.5. So don't get confused. I'm not plotting points here. I'm just giving intervals, and it's x value intervals. So my first interval of increasing is from negative infinity to negative 2.5. I'm done. And so from there, again, it's a turning point. So I'll do this one in green. It turns from increasing. The first turning point right here is at my maximum. It's going to turn and start decreasing all the way to here. And then it's going to turn and increase again. So down here is my second stopping point, and it's decreasing from this section, or from that maximum to this minimum right there. And so again, I care about the x value. So it started decreasing at negative 2.5, the x value here, and it ended decreasing for this interval at the x value down here. This is x, this is y. So the x value down there is 0. And if you notice, wherever, if I read it left to right, wherever it stops doing one thing, in this case increasing, it's going to start doing the opposite for the next interval. So it stopped at negative 2.5 increasing, starts decreasing at negative 2.5. Let's continue on. I'll do this in blue. Now here, my man's right here on my roller coaster. I just finished going down, so I'm going to start going increasing again, or going up, 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 all the way to the next turning point. The final turning point is this maximum right here. So I increase this whole interval right here. So I start increasing at this x value, so at 0, and I increase all the way to this x value, x, y, which is positive 2.5. Again, they are x values because we're reading it left to right, the horizontal axis. And then we have one more round. In this case, we're going to finish, because this turning point meant we went from increasing to decreasing, and we're decreasing all the way, actually I'll use red, I haven't used red yet. We're decreasing all the way down forever. It goes on forever. Positive infinity. So I started decreasing for this final interval at the x value here of positive 2.5, and I'm going to decrease forever to positive infinity. Because again, I understand this is going down, but down is a vertical. I care about the left to right motion. And the rightmost point is positive infinity. The leftmost point is negative infinity. So it started at negative infinity, went up, and it finally ended going down and to the right forever to positive infinity. So at this point, I am done. I found the maximums, the minimums, and technically the maximums and the minimums, 1, 2, 3, are all turning points. And the turning points help me find my intervals of increasing and decreasing. So now you can go ahead and try parts C and D down here. Or I'm sorry, B, C, D. No, C and D, I made an error. These three down here. And raise your hand when you're done so I can check your understanding. And again, to do that, make sure you find the maximum and minimums, plot the points of the maximum and minimums, and then ride it like a roller coaster. In this case, your roller coaster person is starting up tall, the leftmost point over here. So they're going to start going down. And then read it like a book, left to right.